Hello and welcome. In this lesson, we're going to talk about what's really happening inside our brains when we find it hard to focus. We'll explore what uses our mental energy and how that can change our ability to learn.
You ever have one of those moments? You sit down, you're ready to get to work, to study or do homework, and your brain just won't cooperate? It's a really common feeling, and honestly, it can be pretty frustrating.
So you're physically there, right? You're in the chair. The work is right in front of you, but your mind is just everywhere else. Maybe you're feeling tired or a little stressed or just distracted. And in those moments, it's so easy to get frustrated with yourself.
But what if we looked at this a different way? Instead of blaming ourselves for not trying hard enough, let's start by trying to understand our brain's energy.
This is really the core idea for today. That old question we tend to ask ourselves, why can't I just try harder? We're going to replace that. We're going to swap it with a new, much more helpful question. What is using my brain energy right now? Just changing that question can make a huge difference.
There's actually a name for this idea. We call it Maslow for learning. It's all about noticing what your brain needs before you start judging your own focus or effort. If you have your workbook with you, now is a good time to find the While You Watch section for Lesson 3.1.
You see, our brains have basic needs, just like our bodies do. Things like sleep, food, and water, but also feeling safe and calm, feeling like we belong, and having some confidence. If any of these needs are running low, your brain has to put its energy there first, which means there's just not as much left over for challenging schoolwork.
And here's something really important to remember. These states, they aren't permanent. You're not just a tired person or a stressed person. Your ability to focus can change from the morning to the afternoon. It can be different from one class to the next. It's completely normal for it to go up and down.
All right, this is a good spot to pause. In that first box in your workbook, just take a moment to write down what Maslow for learning means to you in your own words.
Okay, now that we have a definition for that big idea, let's get a little more specific. In this next part, we're going to name some of the common things that use up our brain's energy and can make focusing harder.
So what's using your energy? Well, it could be being tired from not enough sleep or being hungry. Feeling stressed out or rushed is a big one. There's also social load, dealing with friend drama, or confidence load, like being worried you'll get something wrong. As you hear these, take a look at the list in your workbook and circle the ones that show up in your life pretty often.
So, why does it even matter to name these things? Well, it changes everything. It's a reminder that our focus isn't just about willpower. It's affected by real conditions. And when we know that, we can start to think about what support we might need, instead of just calling ourselves lazy.
The bottom line is this. If your brain is busy spending its energy on stress or just basic survival needs, then learning something new or complex gets a lot harder. Thinking can feel slower, more fragile. It's just easier to get knocked off track. In your workbook, take a second to finish the sentence that begins, "If my brain is spending energy on stress or survival needs, then learning."
Okay, let's make this really practical now. We're going to connect these ideas to a real moment from your own life. You can find this in the Apply It section of your workbook.
So here's what to do. First, think of a recent time when learning just felt really tough. Maybe that moment when you were supposed to be studying, but you were just staring at the page. Next, look at that list of energy users again and circle what was going on for you in that specific moment. And finally, just write one sentence about what you think was using the most of your brain's energy. This brings us to what might be the most important strategy in this whole lesson. It's a shift from that grind harder mindset to a much smarter approach. Stabilize first.
This really captures the change. The old way is that voice in our head that says, "I'm struggling, I just need to force myself to push through." The new way, the more effective way, is to gently ask ourselves, what's one small move I could make that would help my brain stabilize right now?
And these stabilized first moves, they don't have to be a big deal at all. It can be as simple as getting a drink of water or just standing up and stretching for 60 seconds. It could be putting your phone in another room, or even just shrinking the task down to a 5-minute attempt to get started. Remember, these are not excuses. They are smart adjustments.
All right, let's do a quick check-in at the bottom of your workbook page. Let's think for a second about what happens when we don't take a moment to stabilize, when all those conditions just keep stacking up. When we get overloaded, our brains often go into one of these 4 states. There's stall, where you feel stuck and drained. There's drift, where you find yourself avoiding things or getting really distracted. Overdrive is that panicky, rushing feeling, and breakdown is when you just feel completely overwhelmed and you shut down. Which one of those sounds the most familiar to you? Go ahead and circle it. So, thinking about your own experience, what's your earliest warning sign? That little feeling that tells you you're heading toward one of those states. And what's one reliable move that helps you get stable again? Go ahead and pause here to finish up that final quick check section.
We're just about done. Let's quickly recap the big idea from our lesson and talk about what's next.
If there's only one thing you remember from our time today, I hope it's this. Your focus is not a measure of your willpower. It's just a signal. It's a piece of information about your brain's current state.
Your next step is to finish up the reflection questions on your Lesson 3.1 page. In our next explainer, we're going to build on this by looking at something called Bloom's taxonomy, which will help us see what our school tasks are really asking our brains to do. Thank you for your time and attention today.